Oops, sorry to keep you waiting. You're late. What the heck have you been doing? Mr. Yanagashita practically throws himself at me. The weight must have been killing him. Standing behind him is a man I don't recognize. Who's that guy? Oops, sorry to keep you waiting, a girl's voice exclaimed. A moment later, a furry figure came charging into the demo room. The crowd fell silent at the sight of a young woman in a cat costume. The cat girl panted visibly. Her arms were loaded with cardboard boxes. You're late, the event organizer snapped. What the heck have you been doing? Grabbing the newcomer by one paw, he vanished with her into the back room. The chubby-cheeked girl wrapped up her magic routine and hurried after them. The audience stared at the now empty stage in confusion. Several minutes passed before the organizer reappeared. Ladies, terribly sorry that I've kept you waiting, he called out. But now, I'm proud to introduce to you the worldwide sensation that is Burning Hammer. At a signal, the young woman and the cat appeared on stage. Allow us to explain just how this revolutionary new diet drink works. It's magic, the young woman exclaimed cheerily. The cat nodded and threw out her arms. For the first time in human history, you can drink a single bottle and lose a whole kilogram. Just drink and burn that excess weight away. And with that, the sales demo was underway, a good 25 minutes behind schedule. Five minutes into the presentation, things are going to go alright. An angry clamor filled the room. What the heck are you trying to pull? I can't believe you'd actually try to sell something like this. Outrage had been triggered by something the young woman on stage had said. She didn't inadvertently let slip that Burning Hammer was the sort of thing you could buy at a 100 yen shop. The would-be customers were furious to learn that they were about to be played for suckers, most of them had immediately tried to storm out of the room. Now the organizer, the full-figured young woman, and the girl in the cat costume were at the door, doing their best to hold back the tide. Things had gone pretty interesting, really. Minorikawa pulled out his digital camera and started firing off snapshots of the angry crowd. Some modern digital cameras come with a remarkable ability to automatically trigger the shutter when the subject smiles. This function also works if the camera is presented with a TV or photo image of people smiling. But even in case the camera's recognizing faces in the wood, grain of ceilings or throughout, we can make out faces in the wood when we're gazing lazily up at the ceiling. You can't fault the camera for doing the same. Unfortunately, their frenzy was so intense that he was soon caught up with the flow and pushed out of the room. Fine, I just need to do some interviews instead of getting pictures. Excuse me, he asked the woman. Do you mind if I ask you something? Shut your mouth! Would you mind telling me a little about... Don't you talk to me! Gotta get a word on. Unbelievable! Just unbelievable! The women were so enraged that Minorikawa couldn't get any of them to give him the time of day. Damn. Before long, the entire crowd had surged out of the room and departed. Oh well. Guess I'm gonna have to do a write-up at least. Though it would be nice to get a quote from somebody. He decided to try for an interview with the man who'd organized this fiasco. How did the guy feel, for instance, about his product scam falling through? Man. Back into the event room, Minorikawa passed by the cat mascot. That the one I need to jump to? Hold on. Maybe? I'll do it just in case, but if it doesn't take that keep out off, I'll come back to this. Oh, I think it just goes back and forth, so I don't need to do this. Oh, no, way I passed the man. Okay, let's go back to Minorikawa then. It's kind of handy, actually. Back to the event room, Minorikawa passed by the cat mascot. The cat gave him a tiny nod and walked off without a word. You couldn't see the face of the girl inside the costume, but she seemed genuinely dejected that Burning Hammer had been a bust. Hi, Minoru Minorikawa, freelance reporter. I was wondering if I could have 5 minutes of your time. The organizer sat alone in the midst of his ruined displays. Oh, it's you. The man's voice had lost all of its earlier punch. Here are my credentials. Minorikawa handed him a business card. The man introduced himself as Yanagashita, and Minorikawa got right down to business. So your sales number was over, Mr. Yanagashita. How do you feel right now? How do I feel? Well, tomorrow is another day, I guess. Minorikawa was impressed by the guy's candor. I'm a little surprised to hear that, he said. I figured you'd be more disappointed. Well, I'm plenty disappointed. I took a big gamble here to repay my debts, and I lost. Yanagashita didn't seem to be trying to hide anything. Debts? Minorikawa asked. There was a girl I was in love with, Yanagashita said. I wound up spending everything on her. He stared wistfully into the distance. Ah, interesting, Minorikawa said. You want to be the first man to go to such lengths for a woman? Yeah, Yanagashita said. I suppose not. A rueful smile crossed his lips. This guy didn't strike Minorikawa as some dyed-in-the-wool scam artist, but I decided that it was time to stop feeling sorry for myself, Yanagashita went on. There are plenty of people in the world who have it way worse off, you know? You got that right, Minorikawa nodded in agreement. So I just figured, well, as long as I'm still alive, maybe another opportunity will come my way. A more earnest smile broke through Yanagashita's forlorn expression. Minorikawa wished Toyama could have been there to hear this fellow. I have a friend who's in an incredible amount of debt myself, Minorikawa said. He runs a publishing company, but there was a big mix-up with the scratch cards in the magazine and... Scratch cards? It's not important, Minorikawa said hurriedly. Letting more people know about the whole scratch card fiasco certainly wouldn't do Toyama any favors. Anyhow, debt is a terrible thing, Minorikawa nodded sagely. Oh, by the way, this is unrelated, but are you familiar with a group called SOS? Apparently there's some legendary street gang here in Shibuya. SOS... Yanagashita shook his head. No, never heard of them. Guess I'm not gonna get any leads on that case here. Minorikawa wondered if there was anything else worth asking this guy. Maybe Yanagashita would be willing to take his Shibuya Now survey? No, nothing really came to mind. I was about to I guess Shibuya Now. Maybe Yanagashita would be willing to take his Shibuya Now survey. Taking a little bit of the burden off of Chiaki seemed like a good idea. I have another question. How do you feel about your life right now? Huh? How do you feel about your life? Your products aren't selling. You can't repay your debts, and yet you still refuse to give up believing opportunity will come your way. How do you feel about all that? Yanagashita paused and thought. I'd say I'm a pretty lucky guy. Minorikawa was taken somewhat aback by that response. I haven't been able to sell any burning hammer, and sure I can't pay off my debts, but even so, Yanagashita looked Minorikawa right in the eye. Two cute young girls I've got working for me have stuck with me through thick and thin. Sometimes maybe you just need to be content with something like that, you know? That was refreshingly forthright. Minorikawa was surprised. And I mean, so what if I've got debts? Yanagashita went on. In the long run, none of that matters. Not really. There was a knock at the door. Oh, excuse me a moment, Yanagashita said. I wonder who that could be. He opened the door and his face froze. Damn! Wasn't quite quick enough. Mr. Minorikawa? Yes? You have to pardon me. I've had a little something crop up here, so if you don't mind... Oh, sure, not a problem. I've got other interviews I need to get to anyway, so I'll just... But Yanagashita was out the door before Minorikawa could even finish. Oh, poor guy. Stepping out into the hallway, Minorikawa could faintly hear voices from the adjoining demo room. It sounded like Mr. Yanagashita and two other men. Minorikawa couldn't make out any words, but he could tell they were arguing about something. It was probably some consumer complaint against one of his products or an issue with a client company. Something along those lines. Man, people who run companies sure have it rough. Hang in there, Mr. Yanagashita. Oh, perfect timing. Minorikawa stopped short as the familiar voice got out to him. It was the man he'd spoken to earlier that afternoon about the surveillance cameras. Hey, come here for a sec. The man waved him over. Oh, what is it? I'm real busy right now. I've got a scoop for you. Saw it with my own eyes. Minorikawa raised an eyebrow. Give me the details. Okay, so a little while ago, I saw some foreign guy in handcuffs arguing with someone who looked like a detective. A foreigner in handcuffs. Had there been some kind of international sting or something? Whatever the case, it wasn't such a rare thing to see. Where was this? Just over there, behind the police station. Minorikawa furrowed his brow. Suspect arguing with a cop outside a police station wasn't all that weird. Still, he had a feeling he was missing something here. Well, the big thing is what happened afterward, the man said. Afterward? The man leaned in conspiratorially. The detective undid the guy's handcuffs and let him run off? What? Whoa, what? I'm telling you, man, it had to have been like a bribe or something. A bribe? That seemed unlikely. I swear that's what it had to be. There was some wheel greasing going on. You're not making this all up, are you? Minorikawa asked. He regarded the man coldly, but the guy still seemed quite legitimately worked up. It's all true. Please, you have to report this to the police right away. Why do I have to? Minorikawa asked. If you have a tip for the police, go give it yourself. He didn't quite manage to stop himself from saying that out loud. No, I can't. I'm no good when it comes to police. Besides, they're never going to believe someone like me. Okay, so maybe you had a point there. But you're some world-class reporter, right? The cops will totally take your word over that of a random nobody. Minorikawa didn't have time to debate that point. It was easier just to make the call. He phoned up the police to leave the tip. The man bowed repeatedly, looking pretty grateful. Oh, thank you so much. I haven't been able to put any business done with those scary thugs around. What thugs? What line of business are you in anyway? What? The man suddenly went pale. Whoops. I gotta get going. He skittered off in alarm. What the heck is he doing? Minorikawa was left to wonder what the guy's line of work actually was. But he had more important things to worry about at the moment. He hurried off in the other direction. Before long, he arrived back at Cafe La Trek. The clock on the wall showed that it was close to 2 o'clock. He had to somehow fill 6 more pages before the loan company came to Heaven Publishing to collect. He booted up his laptop. What's with this coffee shop? Said a low, stern voice. You've got no good magazines here. Minorikawa looked up. An older man was complaining to one of the waitresses. Here we go again. It was the same guy who had been yelling at his daughter earlier. Evidently, he'd been here at the cafe this whole time. Haven't you got any magazines for me to read? The man's face was a mask of irritation. Minorikawa glanced at the magazine in the rack. They were mostly geared toward a younger reader. The waitress sifted through the stacks and pulled something from the back. Perhaps this would be to your liking, sir, she said. She held out an issue of Forsyth General Gossip. Don't be ridiculous, the man spat dismissively. This is vulgar, low-grade filth. I wouldn't even use the papers printed on for compost. That was a harsh way to put it, but Minorikawa couldn't fault him for speaking the truth. The man continued grumbling as he went back to his seat. How long is he gonna wait there? Jesus. Minorikawa headed over to the magazine rack himself and picked up the gossip. He opened the front cover and found the scratch card still inserted within. If these things were still out there, it was bad news. Toyama might end up even further in debt. Bah! Minorikawa yanked the scratch card out and tore it to bits. Sir, what are you doing? The waitress rushed to stop him, only for the pieces to rain down on her like confetti. The magazine stuff is still perfectly readable, Minorikawa said. There's no problem here. He strode back to his seat and gazed at his laptop screen. Still hadn't finished booting up. In the meantime, he decided to give Chiaki a call. She picked up right away. Hello, Minorikawa asked. Hi there, good to hear from you, Chiaki replied. How's progress? I did it, Chiaki said, her voice overcome with emotion. I managed to get people to hear me out. Of course you did. Got your pointers from me. Yes, I couldn't have done it without you, Mr. Minnow. Her mood had done a complete 180. Minorikawa allowed himself a little sigh of relief. Okay, then he said, head back to the editing department and put together an article for me. You got it, sir, Chiaki chirped in reply. I'll email you as soon as I'm done with things on my end, Minorikawa told her. Use the DTP to slide your piece into the right spot in the layout. Abbreviation for desktop publishing refers to the process of editing manuscripts layout on a computer preparatory to sending it to the printer. Also used to refer to the software used for creating such layouts. Creating layout data that is ready for printing but has not actually been printed yet is also sometimes called DTP. Sure thing. Minorikawa hung up, then rolled up his sleeves. He sure was towing a pretty narrow line today. The Burning Hammer event had kept him a little longer than anticipated. Now he needed to clean up his copy as soon as possible in order to stick to his schedule. When he turned back toward his laptop, however, he froze his shock. What? His laptop monitor was still a black empty screen. There's no way it would take it this long to finish booting up. Well, it couldn't be. No, don't let it be true! Had his computer decided to pick now of all times to give up the ghost? Minorikawa felt the blood drain from his face. Dang, to be continued right there? Ooh, what a cliffhanger.